This is Mile High.
Do I want to tell the story or do I want to show the message?
You've got a lot of work to do between Mile High.
The time has come where we can know
we have a responsibility, an ethical and moral responsibility.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
it's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. And if you're watching, listening, whatever channel, platform you are, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss any Mile High tick. And today, I'm so grateful to have on this episode one of my mentors who's been part of my chiropractic journey all the way through, and actually is a mentor to so many, the one and only Dr. Arno Burnier, pioneer class at Sherman College, full-time practice in Early, Pennsylvania for so many years, now a resident of Durango, Colorado, frequent speaker at Mile High and at Sherman Lyceum in so many stages, author now of The Cafe of Life and Mosquito Principle. Thank you for joining us today, Arno.
Danny, thank you for having me on the show, and I really appreciate you inviting me. It's going to be exciting.
I know we're going to have some fun and also inspire and touch lives, which is, we're about changing spines, lives, and minds. So, Arno, you had been on this podcast before, and we've shared your chiropractic story, how you found your way to chiropractic. I'd like to ask you something different, which is, how important in your life has it been that you stumbled upon chiropractic and its principles?
It hasn't been important at all. It hasn't been important at all. No, it has transformed my life. I mean, it has completely transformed my life, the life of my wife, of my family, my children. As you know, countless people that I serve over the years, and the lives of countless students and DCs that I influence by speaking on different platforms. It has been the most important turning point in my life, by far. And when I look and tally all of the areas where chiropractic has affected my life, I'm amazed, because I look at it has affected my relationship with my own body, my understanding of health and what health truly is, my understanding of symptom, and that symptoms are not necessarily bad, that we have to be aware of them and learn to understand them and what they mean, my understanding of sickness and disease, my understanding of the birthing process, the dying process, of ecology, of spirituality, of education even, where I put more emphasis for my kids, I put more emphasis on them learning from the inside out, rather than just memorization. So on countless areas of my life, it has affected me, even on an economic level and financial level, on how and where do I spend my money. So when I look at all of this, I go, what kind of discipline has such an influence on one's life? And I can't think of any discipline, any profession, any vocation that has that kind of enormous impact on such a large spectrum. So when you ask the question, how was it important in my life? Absolutely, the most important turning point in my life.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's interesting that it wasn't necessarily expected. It was something many people might see as something small, but actually became much bigger.
100%. It was a total surprise. The first time I ran into a chiropractor, Jean Belaval, in Paris, France, I thought he's just like a specialist from America. And then I got adjusted. And then he started to share his understanding of chiropractic and the philosophy and the principle. And that's when it was like, wow, a whole world opened up. An entire shift in consciousness took place. So, of course, it was completely unexpected.
And isn't that often how healing in the universe works?
Totally. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. So
Caught you
now
by surprise.
takes you by surprise, and not when you may not be looking for it, right? And where you may not be looking. So then you've inspired many people with your hands, you've inspired many people with your words, and now you got to a point that you decided to inspire people writing. So share a little bit about how you allowed that to bubble up.
So for many years, when I was giving talks, speaking on different platforms, and I did a lot of talk for the general public, where sometimes there was 500 people, and it was strictly lay people. There was maybe 5, 6, 10 chiropractors in the room. The rest were lay people. People will come up to me and say, you need to write a book. You need to share your story. You need to share that understanding. And, busy in practice, busy giving seminar, busy speaking on different platforms, I always put it off. But from time to time, I will write a little bit of something, and then a little bit of something. And then finally, when I moved to the Baja for the winter, I decided, I'm going to do it because the demand has been relentless. So I took 6 months and just committed myself 6, 7 hours a day to put all of the things that I had written over the years and create a roadmap, a trail that I could follow and put it together in a book. And I have to say, we mentioned being surprised by the universe. I was absolutely stunned at the response of the book. How well it's doing, how many people have posted amazing reviews, comments about it. And the book is having an impact. And I didn't want to write a book that was dogmatic or militant or teaching chiropractic. I wanted to write a book that is experiential, that is a story, and weave into the story all of our principles and all of the areas that chiropractic touch. So that's pretty much how the book came about.
And what is some of the exciting feedback you've heard?
A 10-hour read that will transform your life. If people read it straight through, it's about 10-hour read if you read at a fairly okay pace. You don't have to read speed reading. People say the book is loaded with healing principle, and someone that worked with David Hawking testing of the level of consciousness says that the book calibrates very highly on the level of truth. So those were some of the responses, comments. I have a chiropractor in Washington that bought 40 of those books. When they arrived, in one day, he had 3 left. Norm Detillieu mentioned that when he received the books, the box of books, he could feel the shift in his waiting room. So many chiropractors are giving the book as a gift to their referral angels, to the people that really are committed to chiropractic and refers to them a lot of people. So that has been a wonderful thing. And people have given the book to family members, friends as a gift. So it has done really, really well. And I didn't expect that. I thought, it's going to be within the chiropractic profession. Some people are going to buy it. It's going to do its thing, like many of the books. But it has been doing amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful. And when you're at Mile High this year, people can you gladly autograph it for them. Is that correct?
Correct. I did that at Lyceum. It was a lot of fun, and I like to tap into the person's energy, to their vibrational field, and then write something specific about them, and then autograph it.
There you go. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, you've been to Mile High before.
Correct.
And I also want to say, wait, where do people get this? What's the best way for getting this?
On Amazon.
All right, on Amazon.
It's in Kindle. It's in Kindle and on Amazon. So it's ebook and paperback, hardcover. I highly recommend the hardcover.
Okay.
Because of the color template that are illustrations that are extremely meaningful within the book. There is 7 color template within the book.
Good. So there you go. You can get it Amazon, get it signed when you're at Mile High. Now, and I highly recommend people do that before being at Mile High. But read it before you get there. Would be my recommendation. I'm actually going to be bringing my case that I just got. I was out of town. I just got my case of books and bring it into my office to give them to some of my best practice members. They're all our best practice members, regardless of if we
recognize it or best and best, right?
They're all the best. With that, you've been to Mile High before. What has been your experience being at attending Mile High?
So, Danny, I have spoken on so many different platforms over the years. Well-known chiropractic seminar, from Dean to New Beginning to West Trout seminar. What was it called? I can't remember.
Living Principle.
Living Principles, that's correct. And, state association on campuses and all this, lyceums, graduations. And what is special to me about Mile High is how you have attracted people that can cover the philosophy, the science, and the art. That is kind of unique. And it is not a rah-rah seminar. I've always been, maybe because I'm European, I'm not so thrilled about being rah-rah, like, oh, you're excited, chiropractic, going nuts. And then what I know from that and what I've observed over the years at New Beginnings and other things, that it's wonderful. It's great energy in the room. It's very emotional, but it jazz people up. And then within 3 or 4 days, they crash back down. And then they're like, oh, I can't wait to get to the next one. I can't wait to get to the next one. And I always felt that jazzing people up emotionally is not necessarily the best path. What about having a deep impact into their consciousness so that they can have an experience, but remain very steady and level-headed with their energy so that they don't have a drop 2 days after the seminar. So I really like that about Mile High. I mean, obviously, there is people that are very in love about chiropractic and very excited, but there is a distinction between being in love and passionate about something than trying to rev up the crowd and jazz them up.
Right.
So that's what I really enjoy about Mile High.
Thank you for saying that. And to me, you and I have very similar chiropractic upbringings, and people have influence, and we wanted to bring something that had depth in the philosophy, science, and art, and not just a jacuzzi experience.
Correct.
And that's what we go for, and also congruent and coherent with the principles of our profession. Now, you mentioned Wes Trout. Donnie mentioned Wes Trout a lot and his programs, and how he was like the heart of chiropractic. Do you remember that?
Correct.
Yeah. And how was it? You went to those?
Yes, I went to a number of those. And what's interesting, graduated from Sherman, I never felt I had to go to a seminar to get my energy back up.
Right.
I felt I was blessed to have been given such a fantastic education, strong foundation, that my energy and my passion and my love for chiropractic remained the same. So I went to those seminars to contribute rather than to get something out of it. Now, granted, when you were there, you have the camaraderie, you meet with other chiropractors, you have the experience of being in that energy. It's wonderful. So there is something that you receive, but you go there to get something. And Wes Trout had a huge heart, very passionate. And I have to say that there was not that much jazzing up at Living Principle. It was a lot more a steady stream of principle, consciousness, philosophy that was very well dispensed.
Yes, that's what Donnie told me, because he went to those as well. Now, you inspire so many over the years, and have inspired and continue to inspire and help people also lift up the philosophy and the art, and so much, and practice. who over the years inspired you, who touched you, that really helped you in your growth?
Well, obviously for me, it was Tom Girardi, which I consider the absolute rock of chiropractic. When it comes to the philosophy, I don't know of anyone that is as steady, strong, grounded, anchored. I mean, it's amazing. His understanding and his perception of the philosophy is second to none, in my view. Reggie Gold, obviously, very inspiring. Jim Ziegerfuss was very inspiring. Sid Williams, yes, but for me in small doses, because I saw other things that I did not necessarily resonate with. Tremendous Jones used to speak at DE, was very inspiring. Sue Brown was inspiring. Of course, Donnie, you know, Donnie, to me, I mentioned many times, and I mentioned it in the book, that to me, Donnie was to chiropractic what Einstein has been to physics. He really brought a whole new level of consciousness, a new level of awareness about the reality of subluxation and the neurology of the body and the importance of the meningeal system. So that was groundbreaking, absolutely groundbreaking. And as you know, Donnie and I have been very close throughout all those years. You know, I married him at my house in Pennsylvania.
I remember it well.
Yeah, he would come over for weekends to spend the weekend at our house with Jackie. So we have had a long history, and he has been a tremendous influence for me and an inspiring mentor. Who else? Stu Bittman. Even though I don't spend that much time with Stu Bittman, and I have never been to his program, I've been around him and I could feel where he comes from. Mm-hmm. His energy, his passion, his love, his heart. Mm-hmm. Lou Corletto has a huge heart. Fantastic. Who else? Amy Burke. Mm-hmm. Eric Rubin. Clear consciousness, great teacher, very inspiring. Mm-hmm.
And it's good to know who have been people that influence you, because people think about you influencing others, but we all have people that, you know, helped us gain insights. We don't do this alone, you know. Correct. We don't grow alone. So by any means.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Right. Exactly. Now, how important do you feel? We were just at the new president investiture, Jack Borla, and we were just at it's the 50-year celebration of Sherman in the new building. How important do you feel Sherman is to the future of chiropractic?
Okay, first of all, let me say this about the 50th Lyceum and the investiture of Jack Borla. The energy was off the chart on that campus. And it's almost, I felt like, my God, just being in the energy. There was a high, but it was not an emotional high. It was an energetic, spiritual high. It was absolutely amazing. And it lasted for 3.5 days. I was blown away. And I got the same comment from many people that went there. David Vozimer was there. Mm-hmm. Brain Holmes was there. I mean, David Celia was there. So many people were there, and they all mentioned the same thing. It was like a heightened experience. It was amazing.
It was absolutely phenomenal.
How important is Sherman? In my view, in spite of the slight ups and downs that Sherman has had over the years, in my view, Sherman has been the template, the touchstone where any chiropractor can come to really reground himself or herself in the principle, philosophy, science, and art of chiropractic in a very pure way. So in that sense, and I always said this to even Guy Rickman, I would say that to Guy Rickman, and I said it to Sid William when he was alive. I say, if it wasn't for Sherman and Tom Gilardi opening the college in 1973, Life University would not exist today.
Mm-hmm.
Because it took the CC eyes off the ball, and basically they put all of their energy to focus on trying to exterminate Sherman and
Right.
allow Sid Williams to take off. By the time he took off, it was unstoppable.
Right.
So that I'm absolutely convinced of the truth of that fact.
Right. Yeah, I know that very well. Yeah. And I'm very, there was many years I know as when I was a student at Sherman, the question of whether Sherman would survive. And I'm glad to feel that myself and my wife had a little part to play in shifting that, and that you did, and so many people did. Interesting. I never really said this publicly. I guess I am now. My son was considering going to chiropractic school. He went to visit Sherman, and he came back from visiting, not at Lyceum, but another event that they had for new students. He came back and he said two things. He said, "Mom and Dad, you could feel, one, that the whole school was all about chiropractic, and you could feel that it was full of love and was a family." Those were the things he told me, for a 22-year-old to come back from, to pick those things up, is, she said, you could feel it in the place and in the walls. And for him to pick that up is very, very touching to me. And that made him decide to go to chiropractic school. So he's going to be
Congratulations.
months. Yeah, I'm very excited about it because we never pushed it. We didn't want to push that at all. And he was going another direction and didn't find fulfillment in that. So now he's going to be going off to Sherman in a couple months, which Rochelle and I were very excited about. So yeah.
Same thing. My son Boo went to chiropractic college after going to business school at Philadelphia University. And same thing, we never pushed it. As a matter of fact, when he first decided to become a chiropractor, I did everything in my power to discourage him. Because I wanted to make sure he was doing it because that's what he wanted, not to be in his father's shoes or following his father's steps.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly. And I said the same thing to Danny, because a few years back he said he wanted to do it. I said, don't do it for me. So, and it's funny you mentioned Boo. I remember very distinctly going to my parents' wedding in your house and being a 19-year-old and thinking, what is this and all these crazy chiropractors, and why is a French chiropractor doing a ceremony, and thinking this is so odd and I don't know what's going on here. And I remember meeting Boo, who was very little at that time, and was go talk to and I played with the other kids that were much younger than me in this unusual scenario.
do you know that the afternoon of that wedding, which happened on New Year's Eve, right?
Right.
We had an ice storm that dropped 1.5 inches of ice on the entire length of the driveway. And there was nobody to call. It's New Year's Eve. There was nobody to call. I spent 3 or 4 hours chiseling the entire driveway to make it passable for all the guests to come. It was insane, man. But it was a good time.
Yes, I remember it very, very, very well. So now, with all the years of experience, the years of giving and receiving in chiropractic, for doctors, what would be something that you, looking back, on the things that you've seen, that you would recommend for doctors of chiropractic?
My first recommendation, especially early on in practice, or even if you're still in school, is to choose one path in the art of chiropractic and go all the way. I always say you don't want to drill 100 wells 10 feet deep and not get water. You want to drill one well all the way down to the bottom until you get water. Once you have done that, you understand the path of going deeply into one discipline. And then if you decide to shift, you'll know what that path is also in the new direction in which you went. So that's one aspect that I would recommend. The other thing, keep things simple. I'm absolutely astonished how complex people are making their practice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I step into a person's practice, there is 3 staff, supporting staff, not DC, 3 staff. And I go like, how many people are you seeing? Oh, we're seeing 12 people in the morning and 14 in the afternoon. And I'm like, are you insane? What kind of system do you have? So keep it very simple. The practice of chiropractic is so simple. If you don't know how simple it is, go spend time with people like Jacob Marek. When I was still in practice here in Durango, come watch how I operate. It is so damn simple. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Right.
So that's another recommendation. And then above all, know exactly what is it that you do and what is it that you don't do. Be grounded. Be grounded in the foundation of our principle and philosophy, and then be clear. This is what I do, but I don't do other things. This is what I do. That's it. And my analogy frequently is, if I go to my dentist and I walk in and I say, hey, John, I have shoulder pain. Is he going to say, well, let me look at your shoulder? No, he's going to say, I understand. It's uncomfortable. Are you okay in the chair? Yeah, open your mouth. I'm a dentist. How difficult is that? Chiropractic specialize in clearing the neurospinal system so as to free life force in the body, so as to open communication between brain and body, so as to facilitate the expression of innate intelligence in the body. That's it. Anything outside that become a distraction and a diversion and a dilution. So to me, throughout all my years in practice, no matter what people say, oh, I have, an ingrown toenail. I understand. I'm a dentist. Open your mouth. I have a pimple over here. I understand. Open your mouth. I'm a dentist. So that was my internal dialogue. I'm a chiropractor. Let me check you.
Right. Now
simple.
That is a very important advice for doctors. Students, if you were to say one thing to tell students, current students in school, to help them on their path, what would you share?
Separate the academic from the reality of practice. A lot of what is being taught in school is taught for the national board, for the state board, for final exam, whatever. Some of it applying in practice. Ask any practitioner that have been in practice 5 years or more. Ask them, how much of your schooling do you utilize in practice? I guarantee you, I'll be surprised if anyone say about 10%. That doesn't mean you shouldn't learn. Learn it well, but be clear. This is for my board. This is for the national board, the state board, and so on. And separate what is it that is for practice, the reality of practice. Be clear. Design for yourself a parallel curriculum while in school, where you are really focusing on the art, the science, and the philosophy of what you will use in practice. So design for yourself a parallel curriculum, aside from the academic curriculum. That would be my recommendation.
You just reminded me of something that I'm going to share that's a parallel, which is I was at Sherman College. I was a student at Sherman College, which I felt was a stellar education, as stellar as you could get in this current age. I'm sure there's better educations a decade or two before me when there was less CC involvement. However, I felt it was a very phenomenal education with the people that I had. Yet, what you just said about having an additional curriculum, here's what I did. Sherman had a library, audio cassettes for people that remember those, audio cassette library of every lyceum and all kinds of other presentations. I went to the Sherman library and I got my stack of audio cassettes every week, and I got all kinds of Lyceum presentations. I listened to them to and from school in my car, from the Valley of the Blind to Reggie. I would say this month I'm going to listen to Reggie. I got like Lyceum talks for years and years. And that was, my additional to and from school education. And I think what you just said is very important for people is, in addition to what you have to do academically, even if you're getting a great education at one of the schools of focus is there's so many resources from this podcast to all kinds of resources. People can listen to Mile High from the last decade on virtually. It's all there for you. But doing things like that will help fuel them. Or recordings of yourself, Donnie, whoever it might be.
Christopher Kent on purpose tapes.
Yeah.
Also, there is recording of BJs.
Right.
Of talks from BJs. They are so powerful. I mean, you could feel the download, the power, the strength of his message. Mm-hmm. It's inspiring, and that's what will keep you on track and not being confused by what you have to learn in school, which is unfortunately somewhat of pseudo chiropractic, pseudo medical education. In spite of the fact that Sherman makes a great effort at creating the distinction.
Right. They still have more hours of non-chiropractic stuff than there was in the 40s or 50s. That's just a fact. It doesn't, it's nothing disparaging any chiropractic school. It's just the reality.
Talking about this, Danny, what's interesting is what is it that the people in the 40s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, even the early 80s knew that recent graduates don't know? Why is it that all of the new graduates in the last, I would say, 10 years, 15 years are struggling in practice? So many are struggling in practice when it was a no-brainer back then. Mm-hmm. When I look at my generation, I mean, we opened practices and then, yes, we didn't have cell phone. We had to be in our office waiting for a phone call. But once we start to have a nucleus of clients, of patients, then the practice started to grow exponentially, and then we had booming practices. Mm-hmm. I don't see that today.
Right.
They're struggling. What is it that they don't know? And if they have realized the truth of that, go back and learn what those people knew. Get exposed to what they knew.
Yeah. And you have more methods now at a very low cost to share your message. Compared
Absolutely.
to like when you opened your practice, what you had tools you had to share your message.
Well, my message was internal to my practice. And then I wrote an article in the Yardley News. Every 2 weeks, a small article, very short, and that was it.
Right. And now people can put the reach of the Yardley News is probably a little smaller than the internet. Right. Well, I'm very excited to dig into this. And my plan is to finish it before Mile High. I want to tell everybody else to do that as well. Get not just one book, but a case. Give it out to your practice members. Get it autographed by Arno when you're at Mile High. And I have to say, this is also, people don't know this, the last segment of Mile High on Saturday night is going to be 3 people. Not necessarily this order, but it's going to be Dr. Jack Borla, the president of Sherman. It's going to be yourself and Donnie. That's going to be a phenomenal end of an event. For the energy of that Saturday night, it's going to be pretty phenomenal.
And that's before the Spinal Tap, right?
Yes.
So
Exactly.
I got to tell you this, Danny. When I saw Spinal Tap, I'm like, I'm clueless about the musician and the name of the groups and all this, or the movie, clueless. And I'm like, what is he talking about, Spinal Tap? As a team for Mile High this year. And then I ran into Wade at Lyceum, and then he came to Ojo Caliente, which is a hot spring in New Mexico, and we spent 4 days together. And I got a drift as to what Spinal Tap is about.
Yes.
Pretty funny.
Making fun of 80s rockers, and it's taking one louder. And you know what? Do you feel like we have to bring the chiropractic message one louder?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not 10, 11.
Yeah,
11.
Exactly. exactly. We really do need to, maybe more than one louder, maybe 10 or 20 louder.
Yeah,
than
I
where
see
we are.
behind you. I see behind you. Go to 11.
Right.
You
Exactly.
see it?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's what we're doing. That's why it's Mile High 11. So, again, Arno, when I walked into that wedding and you were doing the ceremony, I had no idea what was going on or the influence you would continue to have on my life and the lives of so many. So really grateful to have you join us this year. Is there a last message you'd like to share with people on this episode?
Fall in love with chiropractic. Fall in love. If you haven't fallen in love with chiropractic, you haven't looked into it yet. Mm-hmm. Because anyone that will look into it will fall in love with chiropractic.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, that's very wise. And obviously what you stumbled upon that you did not anticipate, that shifted your life, did that. And so thank you everyone for listening to Mile High, watching the Mile High podcast. Hit subscribe, because you will never want to miss any episode. And you certainly do not want to miss being at Mile High this September 21st to 24th. It will help you rise up one louder. And so riseuptomilehigh.com, easy to remember. And we look forward to seeing you on higher ground in September. We look forward to seeing you, and you then rising up to impact your community more. Thank you so much today, Arno.
Thank you, Danny. That was fun. I always enjoy it. And I remember, when you were a student at Sherman and I came to speak, and sometimes it was off campus, sometimes it was on campus. And I didn't know that you would become such an powerful, important, influential person in chiropractic. And I know you're doing it because you love the principle and the philosophy, the art and science, not for self-promotion. I feel that very much about you.
Thank you. It is a labor of love, as it is for you and the people that influenced me. So everyone who's watching, keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic.